Hey everyone, it's Taehyung. I've been thinking a lot lately about how time changes people, how experiences shape the way we see love, relationships, and even ourselves. It's strange, isn't it? We grow up imagining love as something big and dramatic, like the movies full of fireworks and grand moments. But as you get older, you start realizing that maybe love isn't always about excitement. Sometimes it's about peace. I wanted to talk about something a bit personal today. Not as an artist, not as someone from BTS, but just as Taehyung, the person behind all of that. I've always been asked the same question for years. What kind of woman are you attracted to? It sounds simple, but the truth is, it's not something I ever answered honestly before. Maybe because I wasn't sure myself, maybe because I didn't want people to misunderstand. But recently, I've come to understand myself better. I've learned what truly draws me to someone, and it's not what people might expect. It's not about perfection or fame or looks. It's about feeling something deeper, a connection that feels calm, sincere, and real. I wanted to share that truth with you, not as a confession, but as a reflection, a story about how love has evolved for me. So, if you're watching this right now, I hope you'll listen not just with curiosity, but with your heart. This isn't about rumors or fantasy. It's about something every person goes through, the search for someone who understands you, who brings you peace, who makes you feel seen. I want to take you through my thoughts, my realizations, and the quiet truths I've discovered about myself and the kind of love that feels right for me. Maybe in some way you will find your own story in mine too. So let's talk heart to heart. This is me, Taehyung, and this is the truth about the type of woman I'm really attracted to. I've always thought love was something I could easily describe. But as the years passed and I grew both as an artist and as a person, I realized that real love, isn't something that fits into simple words. People often ask me what kind of woman attracts me, what my ideal type is. I've heard those questions for years, and every time I tried to answer, I felt like I was saying the same safe things. But the truth is, what attracts me isn't about appearance or perfection or the surface things that fade with time. It's something much deeper, something that makes me feel at peace. When I was younger, I thought attraction meant excitement, someone who made my heart race, who could light up a room and make everyone turn their head. But now, I understand that real attraction feels quieter. It's the calm that comes when I can finally breathe around someone. I'm drawn to women who bring me that sense of peace. Life in the spotlight is filled with noise flashing cameras, endless schedules, expectations that never stop. When you live like that, peace becomes the most precious thing in the world. There was a time when I didn't realize how much I needed that peace. I used to think love had to be intense and dramatic. But as I grew older, I started to crave simplicity. I want someone who makes me feel like I can take off the mask I wear every day. Someone I can talk to about the most ordinary things without feeling like I have to perform. When I meet someone like that, someone who gives off that quiet warmth, it feels like coming home after a long, exhausting tour. Sometimes, fans tell me they imagine my ideal type as someone glamorous, someone who matches the image they see on stage. But the truth is, I'm more attracted to authenticity than perfection. I like women who are true to themselves, who aren't afraid to show their flaws. There's something beautiful about people who accept themselves the way they are. Maybe it's because I know how hard it is to do that when the world is always watching you. I've met people who are kind, people who are intelligent, people who are beautiful, but the ones who stayed in my memory were always the ones who made me feel calm. The kind who listen without judging, who can sit in silence with me and still make me feel understood. I don't need loud affection. I need presence. I want someone who can laugh with me in the quiet moments, who doesn't mind when I fall silent because I'm lost in thought. That kind of connection feels rare and sacred. Peaceful people have this energy that balances me. When I'm around someone like that, it's like the world slows down. Their energy grounds me, and suddenly I don't feel the pressure of being Taehyung of BTS. I can just be Taehyung, the man who loves music, art, and deep conversations about life. I think that's why I often feel attracted to people who are gentle yet strong inside. Their calmness doesn't come from weakness, it comes from knowing who they are. There was a moment in my life when I met someone who made me realize this truth. I won't say her name, and it wasn't a dramatic love story, but her presence left a mark on me. She wasn't the loudest person in the room. In fact, she was quiet, observant, and always thoughtful. When she spoke, everyone listened, not because her voice was loud, but because her words had weight. I remember thinking, that's the kind of person I want in my life. Someone who doesn't compete for attention but naturally draws it through authenticity. When I think about the kind of woman I'm really attracted to, I think about peace, maturity, and a soul that feels steady. It's someone who knows how to be happy on her own but chooses to share their happiness with me. Someone who doesn't try to change me but helps me grow just by being herself. Maybe it sounds simple, but in a world that's constantly rushing, that simplicity feels like the rarest thing. I've learned that attraction isn't about butterflies or fireworks anymore. It's about feeling safe. It's about being with someone who doesn't make you question yourself. It's knowing that when everything gets too loud, she'll be there not to fix it, but to sit beside me and remind me that I'm still human beneath the fame. That's what real attraction means to me now. It's not what people expect, but it's what I truly need. There's something about intelligence that deeply attracts me, not the kind that comes from books or degrees, but the quiet, natural intelligence that shows in how someone lives and understands the world. I'm drawn to women who think deeply, who don't just follow what everyone else says, but form their own opinions. The kind who question things, who are curious about life, who see beauty in the smallest details. When I talk to someone like that, I feel inspired. It's like having a conversation that opens new doors inside my mind. I love when someone challenges me in a gentle way, when they make me think about something I've never considered before. That kind of connection is exciting to me. It makes me want to learn more, not just about them, but about myself and the world around us. I've always believed that relationships shouldn't just be about feelings, they should also help you grow. I want a woman who inspires me to be better without even trying. Someone who makes me want to read more, create more, live more consciously. When a person has that kind of mind, it shows in their energy. You can see it in their eyes, a calm focus, a depth that tells you they're aware of life beyond the surface. I remember once having a long conversation late at night after a shoot. I was tired, but she asked me something that stayed with me. Do you think you're living the life you really want or just the life people expect of you? That question hit me hard. For a moment, I didn't have an answer. It reminded me that sometimes we get so caught up in expectations that we forget to check in with our hearts. I admired her courage to ask something so real. That's when I realized that's the kind of woman who attracts me. Someone who isn't afraid to go beyond small talk and ask what really matters. To me, intelligence is not about knowing everything. It's about awareness, emotional intelligence, empathy, and the ability to understand others without judging them. The kind of intelligence that makes someone know when to speak and when to just listen. That's a rare kind of wisdom. When I find that in someone, I feel connected instantly. It's like we speak a language that doesn't need words. I like women who are passionate about something, whether it's art, writing, photography, helping others, or anything that gives them purpose. Passion is beautiful. When someone talks about what they love, their whole face lights up. You can see who they truly are in those moments. And I think that's one of the most attractive things in the world. It doesn't matter if it's something big or small. What matters is that they care deeply. That kind of energy inspires me. There's a quiet strength in intelligent people. They don't need to prove themselves because they already know who they are. I find that confidence deeply magnetic. It's not arrogance, it's self assurance. It's knowing your worth and still being humble enough to keep learning. That kind of balance is rare and it's something I admire deeply. Sometimes people assume that being in this industry means I'm surrounded by shallow conversations, but that's not true. There are moments when I meet someone who surprises me with how deep they can be, even in a world that often feels superficial. Those are the moments I cherish. I remember thinking once, this is what connection should feel like calm but electric at the same time. I guess what I'm trying to say is that I'm attracted to women who stimulate my mind and soul, not just my eyes. Beauty fades, trends change, but the kind of intelligence that comes from self awareness and kindness never gets old. When someone speaks from a place of truth, you feel it, and that feeling is unforgettable. There's something timeless about that kind of attraction. It doesn't depend on age, looks, or fame. It's about resonance when two minds meet and something just clicks. You can't explain it, but you know it's real. And when I find that, it feels like a spark that doesn't fade even in silence. So, yes, I'm drawn to intelligence. Not the kind that tries to impress, but the kind that quietly inspires. Someone who doesn't just listen to what I say, but hears what I don't say. Someone who reminds me that real beauty comes from understanding, not appearance. That's the truth about what really draws me in a mind that makes me feel alive and a heart that makes me feel safe. Kindness. It sounds simple, but it's the rarest thing to find these days. In a world that moves too fast, where people are always trying to get ahead, kindness feels like a quiet kind of power. It doesn't shout, it doesn't try to impress. It just exists steady, gentle, and sincere. I've realized that the type of woman who truly captures my heart is the one who carries kindness naturally, not because she's trying to look good, but because it's who she is. You can see it in small moments, the way she speaks to people, the way she treats someone who can't offer her anything in return, the softness in her tone when others would choose anger. That's the kind of beauty that lasts. I've met people who were kind only when the cameras were on, and others who didn't even realize how kind they were because it was simply part of their soul. The second type always stays in my memory. Kindness is something you can't fake, it has to come from within. It's not about being nice all the time, it's about being compassionate even when the world gives you reasons not to be. There was a time when I was going through a really difficult period mentally and emotionally. I was exhausted, constantly overthinking, and I didn't feel like myself. During that time, someone I knew didn't give me advice or try to fix me. She just stayed. She'd send a small message saying, "I hope you ate something today," or "You did well today." They were simple words, but they carried warmth. I realized that's what kindness is. It's presence. It's showing up for someone without expecting anything in return. When I think about the kind of woman I'm attracted to, I imagine someone who leads with empathy, someone who can see past the surface and understand that everyone is fighting battles no one else can see. A woman like that makes the world softer, even if just by being in it. And when you find that kind of person, you never forget how they made you feel. I think kindness and grace go hand in hand. Grace isn't about perfection, it's about how someone carries themselves when things don't go their way. There's something deeply beautiful about a person who can stay calm in chaos, who chooses gentleness when it's easier to be cold. That kind of strength is quiet but unshakable. When I see a woman who handles situations with grace, it draws me in instantly, not because she's pretending to be strong, but because she understands that being kind doesn't mean being weak. It takes real courage to be kind in a world that often rewards selfishness. I respect that more than anything. Maybe it's because I've learned that fame can't protect you from pain or loneliness. No matter who you are, you still crave people who are genuine people who see you, not your image. And kindness has a way of cutting through everything fake. It reminds you what really matters. There was a day when I watched someone help an elderly man cross a busy street. She didn't know anyone was watching. She wasn't doing it for attention. She just did it because it was the right thing to do. And in that moment, I thought that's beauty. Not the kind you can photograph, but the kind that makes you feel something deep inside. Kindness also means forgiveness. I've made mistakes before. I've said things I wish I hadn't, hurt people without meaning to. And when someone chooses to understand instead of condemn, it humbles you. It makes you want to be a better person. That's what real connection does. It heals instead of hurts. The kind of woman I want beside me is someone whose heart is kind even when the world isn't. Someone who doesn't see love as a transaction but as a shared space where both people can grow. I want to be around someone who gives light without trying to take any away from others. That's the kind of energy that feels eternal. Kindness is not glamorous, but it's magnetic. It makes people feel safe. It makes the world feel less heavy. I think that's why it means so much to me. In the end, looks fade, fame fades, but kindness that stays. It leaves an imprint on your heart even after the person is gone. And if I'm ever lucky enough to love someone like that, I'd never take it for granted. Simplicity. That's something I've come to treasure more than I ever imagined. The older I get, the more I realize that the things which truly matter in life aren't the ones that make noise. They're the quiet, genuine moments that happen when no one's watching. I used to think love needed to be dramatic, like in movies full of fireworks, surprises, and grand gestures. But now, I see that love feels the most real in its simplicity. When I think about the type of woman I'm really attracted to, I picture someone who's comfortable in her own skin, someone who doesn't need to try too hard to impress anyone. She could be sitting in a cafe, reading a book, hair a little messy, wearing something casual, and still there's something about her that draws me in. It's not about what she's wearing or how she looks, it's about the energy she carries. I'm drawn to women who find beauty in simple things, the ones who appreciate quiet mornings, small talks, home cooked meals, and slow walks. There's a certain calmness that comes from people who aren't always chasing the next big thing. They know how to enjoy what's right in front of them. That kind of simplicity feels rare, especially in a world where everyone's trying to be more, do more, and show more. I think the reason I'm attracted to simplicity is because my own life is filled with noise. When you live under the spotlight, every little thing becomes magnified. Every word, every gesture, every post. So when I find someone who doesn't care about all that, who treats me like a normal person, not an idol, it feels like a breath of fresh air. With her, I can laugh about silly things, eat ramen at midnight, or just sit together without saying a word. Those are the moments that mean the most to me. There was a day when I went for a drive late at night just to clear my mind. I stopped by a small food stand wearing a mask and hoodie, hoping no one would notice me. The woman who ran the stall smiled and said, "You look tired, dear. Eat something warm." It was such a small moment, but it stayed with me. That's what simplicity feels like, care without pretension. Real human warmth. I admire women who are content with the simple joys of life, not because they lack ambition, but because they know peace isn't found in excess. They understand that happiness comes from gratitude. That kind of mindset is beautiful to me. It shows emotional maturity and it creates a space where love can grow naturally. When someone is simple, it doesn't mean they're boring, it means they're genuine. I'm attracted to women who don't hide behind layers of pretense, who don't need to prove their worth by showing off. Their authenticity shines without effort. I remember once telling a friend, true elegance is when someone doesn't even try to be elegant. It's just who they are. That's exactly how I feel. I also think simplicity allows love to breathe. You don't have to chase constant excitement when you're with the right person. Sometimes the best feeling in the world is just sitting together, listening to music, or sharing comfortable silence. No expectations, no performance, just being. That's when I feel most connected. Maybe it's because I've seen so much complexity in my career schedules, travel, fame, opinions, pressure that I've learned to value the opposite. Simplicity feels sacred to me now. It's not about having less, it's about needing less. It's about realizing that love doesn't have to be perfect or public, it just has to be real. I often imagine a simple moment in the future, maybe sitting outside on a quiet evening, drinking tea with someone I love, talking about our day. Nothing extraordinary, but everything meaningful. That's the kind of love that feels timeless to me. It doesn't fade when the lights go out. It grows stronger in the dark. So, yes, I'm drawn to women who live simply, who don't complicate life, who find joy in small things and who remind me that peace can be found in the ordinary. Because at the end of the day, that's what I'm looking for. Not perfection, not glamour, just something and someone real. Independence is something I've always admired deeply, maybe because it's something I value in myself too. I'm drawn to women who have their own lives, their own dreams, and their own direction. Someone who doesn't depend on anyone to feel whole. There's something incredibly attractive about a woman who knows who she is and isn't afraid to stand on her own. When I see someone chasing her goals, working hard, and staying true to her passion, I feel inspired. It's not just about success, it's about drive. The quiet determination to keep moving forward even when no one's watching. That kind of spirit has its own beauty, it's powerful, and it shines in ways that go beyond appearance. I think independence in a woman shows strength, not the loud, aggressive kind, but the inner kind. The strength that says, I can take care of myself, but I choose to share my life with you. That choice makes love more meaningful. It's not built out of need, but out of respect. I don't want to be someone's entire world. I want to be part of it, a part that brings warmth, support, and encouragement. There was a time when I met someone who reminded me how beautiful independence could be. She was focused, driven, always learning something new. But she also had a soft heart. She cared deeply about people, even when life got busy. I remember watching her talk about her work, her eyes lighting up with excitement. That kind of passion is magnetic. You can't help but admire it. Being around independent people feels grounding. You don't have to constantly reassure them or fill empty spaces with attention. They already have balance in their lives. And when they choose to let you in, you know it's real. There's no pretending, no games, just two people walking side by side, supporting each other's journeys. Sometimes people mistake independence for distance, but that's not true. I think it's actually one of the most beautiful forms of love to let someone be fully themselves. I want to be with someone who encourages me to grow, who has her own dreams but still makes time to share them with me. Someone who respects my path as much as I respect hers. That kind of relationship feels equal, strong, and healthy. Hard work is another quality I'm drawn to, maybe because I know what it feels like to give everything you have to something you love. When I see a woman who works hard, not because she has to, but because she wants to, I see someone who values purpose. And purpose is one of the most attractive things a person can have. It gives depth to her personality, meaning to her actions, and passion to her soul. I've always believed that love should make you better, not weaker. And being with someone who's hardworking reminds you of what's possible. It pushes you to stay disciplined, to keep dreaming, to keep going even when things get tough. When two people with that kind of energy come together, they don't hold each other back, they lift each other up. I imagine love as two strong trees growing side by side. Each has its own roots, its own strength, but their branches meet and intertwine. That's the kind of partnership I want, one built on respect, independence, and shared growth. I don't want to complete someone, I want us to complement each other. Sometimes people assume that being independent means you don't need love, but that's not true. It just means you love differently, not out of fear or dependence, but out of freedom. You choose someone because you want to, not because you need to. That's the kind of love that lasts. There's a deep peace in knowing that the person you love has her own world, her friends, her work, her hobbies, and that she's still excited to share pieces of that world with you. It keeps love alive, keeps curiosity burning. You never stop discovering each other. So, yes, independence and hard work are things I admire more than anything. They show me that a person has a strong heart and a clear sense of who they are. And when you meet someone like that, love becomes something you build together, not something you rely on to fill the emptiness. I guess that's the truth about the kind of woman I'm really attracted to. She's peaceful but passionate, kind but strong, simple but deep, independent but loving. She doesn't need me to define her, and that's exactly why she means so much to me. Because when love comes from freedom, it's the most beautiful thing of all. As I've grown older, I've realized that attraction isn't about perfection. It's not about the most beautiful face, the most stylish clothes, or the person who stands out the most in a crowd. Real attraction runs deeper than that. It's about energy, the way someone makes you feel safe just by being there. There was a time in my life when I thought love had to be loud. I thought it meant constant attention, excitement, something that kept your heart racing. But over time, I learned that real love doesn't always feel like fireworks. Sometimes it feels like calm, it feels like home. The kind of woman I'm drawn to now isn't someone who constantly tries to impress the world. She's someone who's comfortable being herself. She doesn't need to prove anything. Her presence alone brings peace. When she laughs, it's genuine. When she listens, it's with her whole heart. And maybe that's what love really is, when you can sit together in silence and still feel understood. When you don't have to say much because they already get you. That quiet connection is rare, but it's the kind that stays. I've met people who seemed perfect on paper, beautiful, talented, kind, but something was missing. I realized it wasn't about them. It was about me not being ready to understand what I truly wanted. I used to look for excitement, but now I look for balance. I used to crave attention, but now I crave peace. When you've experienced life the way I have, constantly surrounded by noise, lights, and people, you start valuing simplicity. You start craving moments where you can just breathe, and that's what makes me drawn to someone who feels natural, someone who doesn't add pressure but eases it. The truth is, I'm not looking for perfection. I'm looking for connection. Someone who understands my silences, someone who isn't afraid to be vulnerable, someone who values honesty over perfection. A relationship where we can both be human, flawed, real, and growing. I think love is about growth more than anything else. It's about becoming better together, supporting each other through highs and lows, and still choosing each other every single day. Love isn't about ownership, it's about partnership. It's two people walking side by side, helping each other become the best versions of themselves. When I imagine the woman I'm truly attracted to, I think of someone who brings out the calm in me, not because she changes who I am, but because she accepts me fully. Someone who can laugh with me in the chaos, but also sit quietly and just be. Maybe that's why I've never rushed into love. I want it to be genuine. I want it to come naturally. I want it to happen when both hearts are ready, not out of loneliness, not out of pressure, but out of understanding. Sometimes people ask me, Taehyung, what's your type? And I always smile because it's not something I can sum up in a few words. But if I had to, I'd say this. I'm drawn to authenticity, to kindness, to quiet strength, to a heart that feels like home. I want to share my life with someone who can see me beyond the spotlight, the real me. The one who gets tired, who feels unsure sometimes, who just wants to be loved for who he is, not what he represents. Because at the end of the day, fame, success, and appearance fade. But the way someone makes you feel, that stays. And when you find someone who makes you feel peaceful, who makes you want to be a better person, who makes you feel like you can finally exhale, that's when you know it's real. So when I say the type of woman I'm really attracted to, I'm not just talking about someone beautiful or talented. I'm talking about someone whose heart feels familiar. Someone who reminds me that love doesn't have to be complicated. It can be simple, steady, and pure. I don't know when or how I'll meet that person, but when I do, I'll know. Not because of a grand moment, but because of peace, the kind that tells me, this is where you're meant to be. And maybe that's what I've been searching for all along. Not the perfect woman, but the right one. The one who understands the rhythm of my heart even when it's quiet. The one who doesn't make me feel like I have to be anyone else. That's the truth about the kind of woman I'm really attracted to, someone who feels like home even when the world feels too loud. Thank you for listening to my story until the end. It's not always easy to open up about things like this, especially when so much of my life is seen through the lens of music, fame, and what people expect me to be. But this time, I wanted to speak as myself, not as Taehyung from BTS, but just Taehyung, a man still learning about love, connection, and what truly matters. As I shared earlier, my idea of attraction has changed over the years. I've realized that the kind of woman I'm drawn to isn't someone who stands out to everyone, but someone who quietly stands out to me. Someone whose presence feels familiar, whose kindness feels effortless, and whose silence feels comforting. I think love like that doesn't demand attention, it simply exists. And that's what makes it so beautiful. Maybe that's why I've always said I want to live honestly, because love, just like life, feels right only when it's real. And I hope that whoever's watching this right now remembers that you don't have to chase someone to be worthy of love. The right person will see you even in your quietest moments. To my fans who've grown with me, who've seen my heart through my songs and my silences, thank you. You've given me the space to understand myself better, and maybe through all of this, you'll understand me a little deeper too. Love isn't about finding someone perfect, it's about finding peace in someone's imperfections and choosing them again and again. This has been my truth, Taehyung's truth. Thank you for listening.